Okay. Hold on, I'm about to go live. All right. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bridge Art Gallery Artist Conversation. We're excited about being able to come together to talk about expressive creative soul. I'm Cheryl Mack with the Bridge Art Gallery.
And I'm Christopher Mack.
And we are the co-owners of the Bridge Art Gallery located in Bayonne, New Jersey. And we're excited to present the 8th edition of Expressive Creative Soul. This exhibition means so very much to the both of us because it's actually how we got started with the Bridge Art Gallery. And we do this every year as an annual exhibition to highlight artists, whether you're this is your first time exhibiting, whether you're an established artist, an emerging artist. This is a platform for artists of the diaspora.
Okay.
Anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, I think it's an expression of, giving artists an opportunity, a platform for them to highlight their work, new and old and veterans. So you get a chance to meet and chat with them. And there's a little bit more this year that we have set up.
So this year we have a guest curator, and this is not the first time that we've actually engaged with her. If you're involved in any of the arts in New Jersey, she is a staple of the New Jersey art scene. Not only is she an incredible artist, but she's a dynamic person. So we're going to bring on Dr. Ellis, who is our guest curator, and we're so excited to welcome her.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Cheryl, and thank you, Chris. I am indeed honored to do this. This is my first time curating. I don't know about being a staple, maybe a paperclip. I'm working on that. But this has been an honor, particularly as we are sort of coming out of a pandemic and thinking about art and what artists should do. So in putting this together, I wanted to have a theme that pushed the envelope a little bit. And you may think, oh, on the surface, I get it. And I heard one of the artists talking at our opening about what he saw. And I won't say that because he'll be on maybe next week. So games people play, right? Black people, we play some games, right? We know how to jive and talk, and we know how to tell some stories. We know how to play some crafts. We know how to do business. We know how to play games. But then we have to play games when we show up in those jobs that require us to wear pearls and collared shirts. We know how to play games in order to feed our family. So I wanted us as an artistic community, as a Black community, to think about the games that we have played historically and currently, games that bring joy. I think that is the pushback. We've heard this generation talk about self-love and Black joy and Black girl magic. So I'm excited. And the first artist that we are going to bring out to talk about this in herself, it defies what stereotypes think about artists. And Sister Amira is coming forward. She's a teacher. She's a photographer. She is a digital artist. And I'm going to invite the artists to come in one at a time to talk about their perception of the theme and how you say their name, right? How do you say your name and who are you? Thank you, Sister Amira, for being a part of this show.
You're most welcome. So the first question, how do you say my name? Say my name, say my name. It's Amira, Amira.
Not just saying it phonetically, it's your bio. How do I define you? How would you define yourself?
Well, as you stated, mother, wife, teacher, member of the community. And more recently, I find myself in a position of supporter, nurturer of other women through my platform, When Women Speak, through my art, which is mostly focused on women and children. And so, how do you say my name? I hope when people think of me, they think of me in the vein of that person that they could go to if they needed that kind of help, support, enrichment, nurturing. That's what I hope.
You do. I will say your name also, and the fact that I was honored to be on your program.
Mhm.
She's a poet, she's an author, she's incredibly humble. So your submissions just blew me away, right? And I said, okay, I'm only going to accept one work, and I couldn't do that. So Cheryl, if you have one of the pieces, or Chris to put forward, and I want Amira to talk about specifically the piece, and this is the one. I love it. Tell us what we're looking at and why you submitted this piece.
Well, I'm so happy that you chose this one because this is the one that I spent a few minutes with this morning and last night, just viewing it again and getting the feeling that I had the moment that this was captured. This is photography, and it looks like a painting. If you can observe the colors in the back, you can kind of think of it as somebody actually stood there with a paintbrush and a palette and actually mastered this piece of art. But what actually it is digital photography. And I happened to be in Cuba at the time. And Cuba is this place that kind of just like messed with my mind totally, in terms of what my concept of life and freedom and being self-sufficient and children playing, because this picture was shot 2 a.m. in the morning. And as you can see, the children are out there playing freely. um, it's out of focus, and most people would take a photo like this and say, let me discard it. But it's out of focus on purpose, because I felt the moment that I saw this that we are out of focus. Why can't children play this freely any time of the day? Why can't they enjoy their childhood in these types of ways? And just the whole magic of Cuba itself, the colors, the dilapidated buildings, and coming out of that fresh new life. And I thought of with this theme, it kind of fit right in. Like, what kind of games do we play? Like, we're over here in the United States of America thinking that we have whatever it is that we have. And yet, in this part of the world, they come out of buildings that in our society we would consider nobody wants to live there, nobody wants to be there. But the smiles on the faces, and the way
Come on.
they exited, it was just mind-boggling. It was very confusing to my brain. Thus, more of why is this picture blurred? I think our
Love
vision
it.
is blurred.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Hold on to this. Hold on to this. I'm going to circle back around. Stephen Ellis is going to come out and say a little bit about who he is. I happen to know him better than most. I am his big sister, but he has been my teacher. He's an art professor at Central High School, and he does portraits. He's an oil painter. The actual call and the work that you've seen on all of the publication is Stephen's work. So Stephen Ellis, I wanted this piece, and this piece is a very important piece to us. You can say a little bit about who you are and talk us through this piece of brilliant artwork.
Oh, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me, and thank you, Bridge Art Gallery, for having me in this wonderful event. Myself, I'm Stephen B. Ellis. I'm a teacher of visual art. Worked in Elizabeth Public Schools and now currently Newark. This is my 27th year altogether teaching. I've also coached at my former high school, Columbia High School. So my whole life working with children, from substitute teaching to student teaching, and now as a teacher of the arts for 27 years. The piece that Antoinette's speaking about is called Scales and Chords. And when I did this piece in 2007, it was a while ago. It's one of my older pieces. It's a piece where you see the teacher working with the student. I myself, as a teacher, working with my students, a lot of times one-on-one, sitting with them, helping them draw, helping them paint, helping them collage, and hands-on type of teaching like I do. And the teacher helping the student with the fingering on the piano, the positioning, are they playing the proper chords, proper scales? And also, when I did the piece, it was my wife and I, Lisa, it was 2007, who would guess that A year later, 2008, God would bless us with triplets. So when I look at the piece now, it has a different perspective. Now I'm looking at it, it's like maybe it's me and my daughter, maybe it's me and one of my sons. And my son actually plays the piano, and listening to him practice is a joy. Even if he's playing a piece at the beginning, some notes might be wrong, some parts he may get frustrated, but playing, I tell him that's like a joy for me. Listening to him practice, as I might be grading, I might be just sitting back and relaxing, hearing him practice and play the piano in the house is just a joy. So that's the game that we play. Me listening to him play the piano and just me interacting with my children. So this piece has a couple different meanings for me.
I love that. You're talking about the teacher, child, parent, child relationship. What is the medium? Is this an oil piece?
Yes, that's an oil piece done in 2007. What I start out with is a gesso the canvas. Then this is a drawing. It's a very detailed drawing that started out. And then from there, I go on with the oils and think about how I want to do the actual keys. There's a little complementary color play going on there with some blue in the keys and some purple. And you see some of the earth tones in the background.
I love it. I love it. Thank you very much, because I wanted this to be the anchor. We don't see enough of that. We as a community, we know there are mentors and teachers and those relationships. And so thank you. I want to bring someone else on, Edd, who I did not know. Edd Han, your work is really, really different in the best way.
Thank you, Dr. Ellis.
Yeah, and I think that, Belafonte's right. What an artist should do is to challenge us, right? And to cause us to talk about this period in our life. So, Edd Han, you say a little bit about your background. You just let everyone know, this is an artist that was selected in Washington, D.C. So when many people think that when we're doing these galleries, we're not only looking for people we know, we're looking broader. We're going to expand that definition. And we're going to raise the bar. So this brother had to drive from DC to bring his work in, and he's driving to pick it back up. Plus, he was at the opening. Edd, go ahead. Tell us a little bit about the pieces that we have, because I think you're saying something really important.
Thank you, Dr. Ellis. I appreciate that introduction. So, as you all know, my name is Edd Han, hailing from DC. I'm a 24-year-old multifaceted artist. I not only sculpt, but I paint with acrylic. I've only actually been sculpting for about a year and a half. And to be honest with you, it was more so for resilience and preservation than it was for joy. My pieces are dedicated to Yoruba Orishas.
We have coming up, Cheryl or Chris. There you go. Tell us which one this is and talk us through this.
So this is Orunmila, who's an Orisha, associated with the highest form of knowledge. And then the other piece, Elegua, the one with the green waves, is an Orisha who rules over all bodies of water. So these pieces that I create, they're like heads coming out of water. I use polymer clay, acrylic paint, and resin, as well as Egyptian sand to create like a murky water effect. And when I make these pieces, I'm channeling passion and love and the highest form of respect for my ancestors, for our ancestors who were abandoned and lost at sea during that transition over, to the Americans and whatnot. And when I was making these pieces, I felt a lack of community. I was in a space where, the pandemic was going on, and it was a time in my life where I felt like I didn't have, community. I felt like I didn't have people who could relate to me, who could converse with me. So, I'm a very spiritual individual, and when I made these pieces, I was doing so in hopes of, my spirits and my ancestors coming to guard me and guide me along my journey. And a year later, I actually made these for Black History Month last year. So a year later, they're in the gallery, and that's pretty cool to me. I feel like, this year I am finding community. I'm really grateful to have been chosen for this gallery, as it's my first all Black gallery that I participated in, and also my first gallery that I participated in New Jersey. So yeah, that's a little bit about my pieces, and a
Ed,
little bit about me.
you have found a place, you found a community. My people who are listening right now, we have a young brother who we are showing divine connection as he has called out the ancestors and the Orisha, and here he is. So Ed, hang tight. We're going to talk to you some more, and I think one of the perfect people to follow is Brother Suleiman. The Anque family is known. Free the Hard Way is known from Baltimore to New York to Newark. We think highly of them, and I reached out to this brother knowing that his table and his plate overflows. Not only did he come strong, he came strong with 3 brilliant new pieces of work. And I want you to just get to your pieces, because your pieces tell about who you are as a son, as a father, as an activist, as a muralist, as a Newark man holding down the banner. Respect to you, my brother.
Thank you. It's an honor to be part of this whole process right here. I appreciate you choosing me for such a powerful event. I did these pieces specifically for this show. I started that one way, and then I just kind of got more motivated by the theme, of joy and child and thinking back. This piece right here is called pick a number from 1 to 30, and that was a game that you would do, to see who would guess the number that you picked, similar to old clock back in the day. I'm taking it back. So this is stuff that we did, and I use mixed media on canvas with all the numbers, and I was lucky to find these numbers in this old planner book, and it just fit. And I actually used a young picture of myself,
Wow.
4 or 5, I think it was, as a reference to make
Wow.
it here. And it just came together, and I love the way it came out.
Well, I love this. I love this. Cheryl, could you put one of the put her up.
Okay, so this piece is called Double Dutch Training, because all the young girls back in the day, double dutch was the thing. They had all the double dutch teams in the projects, and they lined them up. But this is how they had to learn on their own with one single rope and try to figure out how to do it. And you teach them young. And I wanted to flow with just keeping the abstract. If you look, it's like her clothes is actually flowing within and without it, actually entangling. But she seems determined.
I think that there is you definitely saying something with that waving, and it's a fluid moving piece. Although we might look at it and say that she's not moving, there is a lot there. And I like that you said there is determination on her face.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This one is called Playground Superhero. Back in the day, your imagination was key. Having imagination can give you, and you can acquire anything. If you can imagine it, you can create it, right?
That's right.
Motto, right? So she's imagining she's a superhero, which we are superheroes. We are powerful. And this is her on a playground, imagining her having powers and actually levitating and making those things around her float. And she's standing there like a superpowered superhero on the playground, using her imagination as her power and her strength.
Oh my goodness. Go ahead.
But also keeping her beauty, with the Afro puffs. I got a little bit of abstract with the color as well, and some mixed media mixed in.
I think it's great. I mean, I think it's great that we elevate all of our children, but the fact that you would take a girl and put her in that kind of position, and she is a superhero with that A on her chest. We're going to get back to her, but I appreciate you, and I'm going to look forward to hearing more from you as we call in someone we both know and respect, and there's a connection with you guys, and that's Brother Cortez. Brother Cortez is going to join the conversation. He is an entrepreneur, an activist, an environmental conscious person. He deals with sustainability with his work. And his piece is amazing. But Brother Cortez, if you could say a little bit about yourself and bring us into this work, and tell us about it.
This piece is called Africana, and it's an acrylic on canvas, and it's 48 by 48 inches. And when entering this piece into the show, I came to realize that my father used to play this little game with me where he would take a sheet of paper and randomly draw a shape on that piece of paper. And then he would pass the paper off to me, and we would have this back and forth going. And never really thought about it until, entering this piece into the show. And for years, what's been happening with me is I always gave my mother credit for my artistic abilities, because she was the one at home. She was the one taking me to the museum. She was the one taking me to the galleries. But at the same time, my father had a bigger role. And when you think about it, it's kind of like, when the football player's on the field and the camera comes to him, he always yells out, "Thanks, Mom," or "Hey, Mom." And it's one of those things that I've always done. And my father never said anything about it. And when he transitioned, in the weeks up to his transition, we would sit together and talk and have chats about just what we're talking about now. And he would often say, I asked him, you never said anything about me always giving Mom credit. And he said, I knew my place. I was there, so it didn't really matter. So I found that to be quite profound. And with this painting in particular, I started doing this overlapping of shapes and colors and just playing with the hues, the red, the yellows, and the greens. And for me, those are the colors of Africa, the red, black, and the green. And so it's very simplistic yet complicated. And so there's a whole lot going on in the painting besides what my father and I were doing. And so in the future, I'm going to talk more about that.
This is an amazing piece. And, the chat was popping off about the intricacies of the work and the colors. And this is Black history. I love that when you walk right into the gallery, it's the one right directly in front of us on that back wall. I think it speaks to the entire theme of joy and resistance. And I love what you just said about your dad. Hold tight. Do we have Denise out there able to come in? Then we're going to bring everybody back in. There's Denise. Thank you so much. Hello. You're now going to meet an incredible multi-artist, a quilter, a painter, someone who works with mixed media. Her work just brightens us. She speaks in ways that are multifaceted. And I'm honored that you said yes. She said, "Well, I don't know. I said, no. We pushed a little bit. And I want you to talk about your work, your process, and specifically about this piece that you created for this show."
Mm-hmm. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to participate in the exhibition. And my piece is called How You Play Spades is How You Play Life. Because it's not just about spades, but cards. We can't control what cards we get in life, but it's how we play the game. Some people are very contrived when they go to bid. They consider how much, very calculating. And other people, they just jump right in. And I think sometimes it shows leadership, because in the game of spades, if you have no spades, you can throw your hand in. But sometimes your partner will save you. And that, to me, that shows leadership. It shows teamwork. And of course, we talk smack, and just thinking about how, considering all that we have as Black people have gone through, it's like we're just thrown on the stage with no script. And we can go to a dollar store, get a pack of cards, and the joy that we get from spades, I can't even explain it. It's one of those things you have to be there. Not just trying to talk about anybody who doesn't play spades. It's said in jest. But just the joy that we create for ourselves. It's like when you go to a cookout, you forget that you're even there to eat. You're so into the game, you go for hours. And if you hook up with a good partner, it's just a bond that you can have for life. And I think spades, if anything, spoke to joy and, of course, resistance, and how we no matter what the situation is, we would just deal. We will create our own joy in a way that sometimes other people get jealous of. Well, how can we be joyous in the situations that we're in, but we create our own joy, and I love that about us. So
I
thank you
love
very much for allowing me to participate. I think the whole exhibition is wonderful. The pieces and the backgrounds behind the pieces, because some of them are not so obvious, and when you hear the stories behind them, it's very uplifting. So thank you.
Oh, this is amazing. It's a great point and a great time to bring everybody in so that we can talk about Black resistance and talk about where Black artists are and where we're going. And as COVID has changed us, what we expect, how do we create community, how do we resist with nothing, what cards are we dealt with, who do we give credit to, where are our daddies and our grandmamas in all of this. So I'm going to hope that we have a fluid conversation. I like that Ed is from a new school. He keeps us moving. Us older people just kind of sit still. So do your thing, brother, because I know you're there. And I wanted to begin with any of you, Amira, Ed, Suleiman. Has your practice changed during COVID and since this pandemic?
I would start off with this
Okay.
one. I've actually become more active since 2020 to now. My styles have been blossoming out of control and going with digital and all types of art just flows. And I felt like a door had opened for me, artistic.
Yeah, yeah. I see some head nodding.
I'll piggyback off of that.
Yeah.
One of the things I try to tell people is that we always complain about not having time, right? And God stepped in right there and said, here's 2 years. If you can't get yourself together and find who you are in 2 years and find time for the things that you're on earth to do, then you miss the whole point of all of this, all the destruction and all the bad things. We as artists, as people, I know I definitely developed, and the most important thing that I found was we now know we don't need nobody. We can
Yes.
do this for ourselves, and we are doing it for ourselves. This is power right here.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Ed, you mentioned COVID, sort of feeling like you're looking for community, and here you
Yeah.
are in a different state. And I don't want you to speak for all young people, but you have a connection through my son. And so, how do you see, the 20-year-olds? You guys have really been hit in a very
Yeah.
different way. A lot of the things that are those points in our life that we want to celebrate were taken from you,
Yeah.
and you're kind of out here. So if you can give that kind of perspective.
So while I sculpt and paint, my main niche is actually music. And before the pandemic, my musical journey, my music career was flourishing and very prosperous. And I was at the point where I was, about to come, what I'm saying, out with uh, releasing more content in that regard. But then when the pandemic hit, I felt like I had to reevaluate my whole choice of career in an instant, because I had all these different jobs lined up where I make art and I get paid. I commission, I get paid. They send me different places. I might do a mural here or there. I get paid. But when the pandemic happened, all that shut down. It was very hard for me to make money, and it was also very hard for me to be honest with how I was feeling. Like waking up and asking myself, like, okay, what do I do today? You know what I'm saying, to secure my livelihood. Like, do I go and make art? But when the art isn't, flowing, it's a bit you become a bit doubtful of yourself. So I had to, kind of become like water and move with the times. There was one point in time where BLM was happening here in DC, and a lot of riots were happening and stuff. And it was a very good time to be an artist, and not just any kind of artist, but an artist that depicts Black heritage and Black culture. and you know, it felt like a tsunami, like a
Mm.
tsunami of artists that, you know, created from that place. So you know, I had to it got to the point where I had to literally take all of my canvases and all of my clay and put it in storage. Like I couldn't even like walk into my studio and see it because it felt so intimidating, you know. So like for me, as a young person, um, and I feel like I can speak for a lot of young artists. This time has really been um, like fight or flight. You know, it's either you do, you don't, and even if you do, it doesn't like necessarily guarantee your your success. So you know, to kind of combat all of that, and you know, to in so many ways, like stick it to the man.
Right,
I've
right,
been
right.
looking for a lot more like gallery opportunities such as this one. You know, I've been applying to different galleries in different areas and trying to travel more. Because I feel like that's the part about being an artist that, you know, we as young people don't really understand. Like we post our work on social media and stuff and hope that people find it, but the reaching out and you know, trying to expose yourself to new experiences, I think that's, you know, a component that I'm learning more during this time. So that's something that I'm, you know, extremely grateful for.
I'm gonna thank you for that. You said a lot. I'm gonna ask Cortez if you have something that you want to respond back, because I think you understand this in a way different even from many of us who are sitting there. You're an entrepreneur. You got a door with a key to open.
Yeah. So for us, because we're already active on
Say,
social media.
say a little bit about your store.
Okay, House of BAV is home for Born Again Vintage. So my wife Bridget Artis has a line called Born Again Vintage, and it's basically sustainable fashion. So when we opened the store right before the pandemic, I think that's September before the pandemic, you know, we had big plans. And so one of the things that really shifted for us was the fact that people weren't coming out. And my practice deals with a lot of collaboration, fusing, doing painting right on the spot, or live painting, as some people call it. I'm also a DJ. And so for us, we had to really shift things and more or less concentrate on online, um, just getting the message out there. And there was a big influx of supporting Black businesses, which was a really big help. So, with that and with being active on social media, it kept us afloat. For me, artistically, I really didn't change my practice. I think, if anything, I slowed down because what was happening around me, I'm seeing people die. I'm seeing people, you know, get sick right before my eyes. And I have a part-time job working for a pharmaceutical company delivering medication to facilities and seeing up close and personal, you know, staff dying, patients dying. And so for me, if anything, it made me slow down and redirect and kind of really think about my purpose as an artist. So that's what kind of got me into the whole sustainability space, because my wife is doing that with her fashion. And as I'm learning about sustainability in fashion, I'm looking at, whoa, there's never any conversations about sustainability in art. So one of the things that I've always done is I keep my dirty water and I use it, which is kind of strange. And the way I paint, I kind of paint in like an assembly line fashion. So if I'm working with red, that glass of water with my brushes in it is red. And so I'll utilize that red water in my artwork. Um, I don't throw out much as far as you know, magazines, newspapers. I read it, then put it off to the side, and then I utilize it in my artwork. And so all of this is now happening, even though I've been doing it for years. Now I'm consciously thinking about sustainability in my artwork. And so it's been a challenge, but at the same time, because I slowed down, it gives me that moment, that time and space to really think about what I'm doing. And my venture into abstract art was basically because I was being bombarded with images of what was going on around me. And I was saying, all right, how do I give the same message, but without beating somebody over the head with the visual? And so that's what kind of got me deeper into the abstraction space. And, you know, a lot of people say, oh, abstract art is easy to do. Anybody could do it. No, I've been working on it for years, you know, since high school. And I'm just now finding myself. And so it's real interesting. And COVID helped with that process.
I love that, Ed, you're using that water, right? Because your resin pieces, those sculptures, are present because of that emptiness that you're feeling. And Cortez, you said some really, important things. We are seeing it in a way that perhaps our ancestors saw, but to be the generation that has lost so many Black lives, that we know, and those who are our idols, and they're just going, and so I want us to spend a little time talking about. You started to tell us a little bit about this, Cortez, and maybe Denise and Steve can say a little bit more about it. What should art be doing at this time, and where do you see Black art? And what are some of the things that you may change about your practice or lean into more? Steve and then Denise, let's see what you guys have to say. I can't hear Steve. I can hear some music, but
I'm sorry, that's me with music.
Okay. How about now? You hear me now?
yes.
Okay. So even before the pandemic, my sister knows about this. Had a lot of medical issues for myself. Dating back like the last 5 years, I missed large chunks of time of work, and it's been very frustrating for myself. Numerous times in the hospital, getting antibiotics and numerous surgeries and what have you. So I always wanted to continue my practice, not just as a teacher, but as an artist. So what I've been forced to do is work in a different way. So instead of standing up doing oils, last few years, many of my pieces I've been sitting down at a table, doing graphite drawings and combining that with watercolors and collaging with fabric and photographs. So I've had to do a complete 360 and change up how I practice my whole process. And the drawing was something I always enjoyed doing, but it was a complete change of pace for me. And I think I've liked the new direction I've gone in. So the whole pandemic and my health situation has forced me to change my game plan midway through the game. So that's something that I've had to learn. I'm sure all of us as artists, sometimes you have a life situation, you have to change up how you do your art, when you do it, what kind of mediums you use, maybe health reasons or whatever. So I've never had to do that. And for me, it's been a way of having learned to think on my feet and change what I do. And I do a lot of people in my artwork that are famous in history. I have a Cicely Tyson piece I've done the last few years. I'm thinking about my goodness, gentleman that just passed away, Sidney Poitier piece I'm thinking of in my head as well. So I think we are timekeepers of history and showing, especially my children and my students, these are people in history that, some of my idols. And I always try to combine some of their people as well. I have Amanda Gorman in one of my pieces as well. So we try to keep time and show them some of the prominent people in history, and we pay homage to them with our artwork.
I love that. Amir, you're right. Timekeepers. That's what we're doing as artists. You mentioned Black Lives Matter, Ed, and we're going to get back a little bit to that. But and so Denise, I know that you are doing a lot of things. And where do you see textile or mixed media or Black artists and women? Where do you see yourself and maybe some of your colleagues going?
Well, God willing, hopefully I can keep on keeping on. Because again, like a lot of people with the pandemic, none of us knew that this was going to happen. I had an exhibition open just a week before the world closed. So I've been preparing for months, and anybody who knows, when you prepare for an exhibition, it's months and months and months of work. So it was very emotional. I had the opening reception, and then the next week the world was closed. We were all shocked. So to transition online, having the website was something I took for granted because I'm an out and about type person. But now my website is up, and to transition using the website, photographs combined with content, text, and also as far as artist goes and textiles, um, I like that quilting is now being seen. Quilting has been around for ages, very age old medium, but I like now that it's being seen as one of the upper echelonian type of. It's seen as fine art now, thanks to
Yes.
the Butler,
Mhm.
Lisa Shepherd Stewart, Sherry Shine. A lot of work goes into it, so I'm glad to see, with the top stitching and all the things you can do, and plus with the machines that we can have in our house now, we have embroidery machines, industrial machines, long arm machines. So I think with the news covers, I mean, Bisa Butt was on almost every major magazine. That is wonderful. Her exhibition also opened the same day in Chicago. So to see how far we can go with quilting, and not just quilting, but different things you could do with textiles, because I also decoupage with it. But it's like the fabrics, they're art within themselves, but it's like how we put them together. And sometimes there are hidden meanings behind the symbols that mean so much. So I think with social media and the digital world, kind of in a way made it larger than what it may have been, had we just relied on going to galleries or going to museums, because everybody may not do that. But since we were all home, everybody was online, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we worked that to our advantage.
I love that you mentioned Bisa's work, a Newark, South Orange, Maplewood woman who's doing some things. Amira,
Amazing.
amazing work. When you were talking, Amira, you mentioned something that really struck me. The idea that Western society sees ourselves in one particular way, right? That we have these buildings that quote look nice, and what comes out is not really as acceptable in some places. And to be in Cuba, I remember when our family went to Cuba, changed my life,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to talk about how Black Lives Matter, how these young activists um, took the world stage. And so, Ed, to all of your people, to all that was going on, to be able to resist in this way as artists, I see it in all of your work. And so, what's next? What are we supposed to do? Keepers of the time. Amira, you are a poet. Your work works hand in hand. And your writing and the fact that you are a sound keeper and a keeper of those things for women and children. I'm wanting us where we are to do something, and I'll put dot 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 to do something. I think we're called to this to do something. Um, and what is that thing? And when do we do the thing?
Our thing is the responsibility of carrying this forward. I want to just go back to, like, if we can think about everything bad that happened, the lives lost, the sicknesses, but I actually had time for 2 years to sit and develop. I mean, I published my book during that time. I published others during that time. I opened a platform for creatives, for women during that time, which is now international. We go as far as India,
Yep.
and France, and as south as Jamaica at this point. So we started something. Um, Timekeepers tell that story, awaken souls. You know, every piece in this gallery is absolutely amazing. I was so sick of the trauma.
Yes.
You can't tell, and I don't want to like lessen the effect of it at all, because we need to know. But the trauma that we have telling our historical facts. When you came up with this theme, the games people play, we told those same stories in a way that made hearts smile. When I walked in there and I saw that little 14-year-old girl's art, that was the first thing I was like, I got to get this. I'm
12. She's 12 years old.
12-year-old in a gallery.
Yep.
And just as a photographer, for me, with the poetry and the writing, each thing that I do, I want to tell a story. What I like to see from this point forward, I'm in a gallery. I'm in galleries as a matter of fact, but pure photography, where we capture those portraits of our lives and we put that together and add that to the world of art.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Our time is up, but our work continues. Denise, thank you so much for allowing us to play the games and to find joy in the dollar cards. Stephen Ellis, thank you for being the keeper of the time and the portraits that you have shown. Suleiman, I thank you for bringing our children forefront in a beautiful way and for little girls to shine. Ed, for bringing those ancestors forward in a way that defies what they think your generation is doing. And to my brother Cortez, I thank you for your father. I thank you for your mother. I thank you for your wife and the work that you're doing. To Bridge Gallery, thank you for allowing us to have this opportunity as a collective. And the work will continue, Ed, and the work will continue. We hope that we will do things together going forward. To Brother Chris and to Sister Cheryl, thank you. I know we're going to meet back again next week, and they're going to sign us off and bring us back in. So peace, back over.
Well,
Thank you, everybody.
before we go, I just want to say a few things. One, can't really clap. Let's all give a hand wave to Dr. Ellis on, gathering these wonderful artists. Everything that Christopher and I do is, really a labor of love. And we consider what we do not just exhibiting art, but it's also, galvanizing an art family. And we feel like, it's really expanded. We actually met Cortez within the midst of the pandemic. And I had to really think about it because I feel like I've known Cortez forever, but the majority of the time that I've known him is through a mask. But, it's that kind of connection. And, Amira, I feel like she's my sister from another mother. And it really has been the art that has sustained us during this pandemic. And I think, for Christopher and I, it's very important to pay homage to the artists that have sustained us during this time, whether it's, been, DJ sessions online, being able to tour galleries that we normally wouldn't be able to tour, around the world, to artists like yourselves who are participating here that have been showing your work online and through your artistry has conveyed and captured those emotions that we feel. Things that sometimes we don't know that we're feeling, but we see your art and we're like, yes, I feel that with my soul. And so, we just want to say thank you for sharing your art babies with us. Thank you for being a part of our community. Thank you, Suleiman and Denise and Stephen. It is truly our honor to be able to show your work and to be able to highlight it as a part of the the promotion for everything associated with Expressive Creative Soul, because we've seen your work out and about for a very long time. And, it's just truly an honor and a privilege to be able to showcase and highlight your art here. And Ed, you are our future. You're the future of creatives. And I think that's why we, not only love your art and your spirit, but also what you represent. You're the next phase. And, I think I can speak for everyone that has met you as a part of the exhibition. Anything that you need, you can tap into any one of us, and we'd be more than happy to help, because it's really about sharing the knowledge, sharing the information, and helping the next generation of artists. And you are that next generation.
Thank you.
All the work is still available for sale, for purchase.
Yes.
Right? And tell them how the gallery hours, or how's the best way they can come down to see the show and to support these artists.
So we are still in the midst of the pandemic. So the gallery is open every Saturday from 12 to 6 p.m. But if you would like to schedule a private viewing of this exhibition, you can send us an email at connect@bridgeartgallery.net, and that's CONNECT@bridgeartgallery.net. So thank you. We're coming back next week with the next phase of artists, but we love you and we thank you for your time and your energy and your creativity. And everyone have a fantastic week, and love to you all.
Love you all.
Thank you.
Me too.
I appreciate y'all. Talk to y'all soon.
All right.